Keep it locked. We'll be right back for truth. Keep it locked. We'll be right back for truth. Keep it locked. We'll be right back for truth. Good night and welcome to the show. It's another Wednesday night, and I'm excited. Uh, it's the best time of the week, and we are back at it again. And it's a brand new week with a brand new guest. And this time it's actually two guests on at the same time, two for one. So one of the things I like about doing this show is that I get to meet new people here on the show, and I have to say that it's always an exciting time just to meet people, man. I also love the anxiety and the unknown of meeting a new person or persons in this case, and it feels like a brand new relationship, man. Brand spanking new. As you know, the show is here to promote and to bring to you interesting and talented people from all around the world. So if you know someone who fits this description, just send them my way, and we will be very happy to connect with them and give them a thumbs up. And if you're new to the show, I hope you enjoy us and our guests. By the way, our email address is DmanFromProspect@gmail.com. And you can always reach out to us at facebook.com/DmanForTruth. And you can catch all the reruns on YouTube. Simply go to D-Man from Prospect and they will be available to you. Um, this part of the show we call D-Man Thoughts, and we usually go into some of my interesting thoughts, which could sometimes go very wild, sometimes uh, very normal. Uh, I like to call them normal. Some people say they're kind of strange sometimes. But this is Demand Thoughts for May 5th, 2021. And it's a beautiful time in this pandemic era to understand and to also appreciate your life and your surroundings. I know you weren't just placed here to be idle or to exist only to be instructed what to do or what not to do. I know this because of all the evidence leading up to this point in our lives. I also know this because of all the great sacrifices made before me, and for you. Most of us think we are special, and most of you probably are, but history has shown us that there is always a path leading to where we are right now. How do I know this? Hmm. Simple. It was all the trails left behind by the great people before you and me, and they all had big footprints to follow. Trust me. So I'm saying this to you: use all the tools that are available to you and to make your own prints for your own history. I remember the great Larry King once saying that his greatest fear was to leave this earth without anyone knowing who he is or who he was. And if you're not going to leave insurance money for your loved ones and relatives, and if you're not going to leave an inheritance or something that favors your sacrifices, at least leave a trail where you can be found and people can know the king and queen you really were. And on that note, we have two very special guests tonight who's going to join us. I'm very happy and very excited to have these two brothers on. Um, they go by the name of Craig and Dean from Checks Over Strikes. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I'm very happy to have you guys here because, I've been looking at some of your stuff you guys are doing online, and it's really positive. And also, for those of you out there, you should check it out because what you guys are offering is something very special. Trust me. I'll let you guys jump right into it. But first of all, why don't you guys just tell the viewers a little bit about yourselves? Any one of you can start first.
Craig, I'll let you go first.
Well,
Does this always happen, Craig?
yeah, it always happens. We kind of find out who's going to go first when we get this question. But I'll give you the mini breakdown of who we are. So again, my name is Craig, and this is my partner Dean, and we're co-authors and co-owners of Checks Over Strikes. And we launched this company last year during COVID. And year to date, when we launched the company, we wrote a book, a financial literacy book. And year to date, we've sold over 1,000 books, and we've also mentored. Well, thanks. We've also mentored 7 young individuals, and we helped them create side hustles during the pandemic. And collectively, they've grossed over $40,000 during the pandemic. So it's something that we're really proud of, and we know that the pandemic has done a lot to people. So we've also created a course, an online course that helps marginalized youth and young adults gain the right to success.
This is good, all good stuff, guys. This is really, really awesome stuff. I'm very excited, man. This is really good. I hope the guys out there who are watching this are excited too, because I'll let Dean, you go ahead and share a little bit about yourself also before we get into it.
So my name is Dean M. Chambers, and I'm the second half of Checks Over Strikes. And we came up with this company because we found there was a need in the areas that we grew up, and that's the marginalized areas. So both myself and Craig grew up in marginalized areas, and growing up, it was tough for us, right? And the age that we're at now, because we're both married with children, and we said to ourselves, you know what, we don't want our children to go through what we went through, right? But we all know the school systems don't teach a lot of information when it comes to finances, right? So me, I have a background in accounting and finance, and I also specialize in taxes. So when I was, once I got out of school and I was doing people's taxes, I noticed that a lot of information that I knew, I thought was common sense to a lot of people. But as I found out, not a lot of people know this information, especially things around credit. So I said to myself, you know what? A lot of people don't know this information, and I didn't learn this growing up. But it was kind of like a trial and error type thing where I learned as I learned as I grew, right? So I said, you know what? I had a daughter at that time. She was young, and I was like, you know what? The things that I didn't know, I want to make sure she knows. But I was like, how can I do this? Because well, for me, growing up, I didn't really listen to my parents a lot. So I said to myself, I got to make this in a way where if she's not hearing it from me, there's some sort of way she can get this message, right? So lo and behold, it took me about 3 years to finally sit down and put pen to paper and write out the content for this book. And one day Craig came to me letting me know that he had these 7 individuals that wanted to purchase a property. So I said, hey, let's test out the material that I wrote with them to see their knowledge when it comes to financial literacy. So lo and behold, we came up. We came up. There was 4 major areas that we felt was important in terms of them purchasing a property. So that was their credit, saving, investing, and budgeting. So when we sat down with these girls, this was before the pandemic started. We noticed that they absolutely knew nothing. So they knew they had credit, but they didn't know what their credit scores were, what their credit scores were. So we said, you know what, go find out what your credit scores are. And we said, okay, how much money do you have for the down payment on the condo or the rental property? And they said they have nothing. So like, okay, that's a problem. And then we said, do you know what purchasing a property entails? They knew nothing. So we kind of schooled them on all that stuff. We gave them some homework to do. They came back with their homework. They came back with their credit scores. Their credit scores were phenomenal, but they didn't know how to leverage their credit scores. So we taught them how to leverage their credit scores. And lo and behold, we said, okay, if they don't know this information and they're the next generation after us, imagine what our kids are going to go through. So we said, you know what, let's put this book together. And then during the pandemic, there was nothing to do really. So we said, let's put our minds together and bang this book out. So lo and behold, July 1st, we were able to launch the book called Don't Be a Wastesuit, the Financial Literacy Guide. I will tell you more about the title later. And it just, as the day that we launched it, the response has been phenomenal. Like people are like, people our age and older are saying, I wish I knew this information when I was younger. And then we're giving the younger generation the early start that we didn't have so that they don't have to make the mistakes that we did when it comes to financial literacy.
I'm listening to you guys and I'm saying this is awesome stuff, man. And you guys don't look that old. So I mean, you talk about you're married with kids. I'm looking at you guys like married with kids. But I do understand because I did have my son when I was very young as well. So
Mm.
I do understand that. First of all, how did you guys meet?
So my wife and his wife are very good friends. So the two of them. So once so was it Craig's wedding? So when they were getting married, so then I got introduced to him and his wife, and then like we're really tight between each other. So I'm always at Craig's. Well, not during the pandemic, but I'm always at Craig's house. Or
For the record.
Yeah, yeah. So we're good family friends.
Dean just want to be clear on that. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of regulations around here. Hey, so let's get into some stuff before because you got 1,000, and when I finally purchase finally purchase your book, it's gonna be 1,001. So I'm just gonna say this: there's gonna be a lot more purchases, I imagine, after this podcast. Can you talk a little bit about your early days as a kid and what it was like before college or acquiring a job? I ask this because I think it's important that everyone share their unique story because I kind of snooped in on some of the interviews that you did, or at least one, and I realized we are very similar
Mm-hmm.
in some circumstances. So I'll let you guys go ahead and share a little bit more about your background, your upbringing, so forth.
Well, I'll start. Growing up, I grew up in like two different marginalized areas, Jane and Chathui and Jungle or Lawrence Heights. So growing up, I had siblings, and my mother, she was helping to grow us. And growing up was, I wouldn't say it was tough. It was actually fun because you just didn't know what you didn't know, right? And if you weren't open-minded to certain things or things were introduced to you, like we took what we had and we made fun with it. So when I kind of discuss this, how growing up, I discuss it in a way that, what, there were a lot of things that, how can I say it? There wasn't a lot of resources, but I grew up, I walked to school. You know what I mean? I took care of my siblings. We walked to school, we walked back. And my mom always mentioned that, don't worry, we're gonna move, and we're gonna, get you out of this, this environment, and so on and so forth. And let it be told, even though my dad didn't live with me, I always had access to my dad, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in my journey. So growing up, I grew up in the Jane and Chathui area from ages like when I was 1 to 12. And again, growing up, it was fun. It was easy because, like I said, we didn't know what you didn't know, and we worked with what we had. Right? Yes, there was a lot of violence. Yes, there was drugs. There was a whole bunch of things, but my mom kept us really tight knit. And when we moved to Lawrence Heights area, which is known as Jungle, it was just moving from one area to a different area, but some of the stuff was just more magnified. And again, kept my head in the books, went to school, and I just tried to, because I knew for me, I grew up in two tough areas, and I dip and dabbled in different things because I'll be totally honest and straightforward. I wasn't the best individual, but I had older people that knew my character and said, you know what, Craig, this is not for you. So you may want to stay away from that. And I think
It's always
that's,
those guys, man.
yeah, I think
Always
that
those guys that put you
what's
in the track.
missing. I think that's what's missing in this, generation right now. Not having those old G's be able to kind of, push it aside and talk to you and say, hey, this is not for you. And I went through various issues in which that I had that. When I tried to be cool or I tried to do something different, they knew it was within my character and they led me on the straight path. Right. So, growing up in the jungle area, again, there wasn't many resources, but again, you kind of just, did what you had to do and you had fun where you had fun. I went to school, I was in, the senior band, I did different things. And, after that, after growing up there and seeing a lot of things, it wasn't changing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all went through trauma as young individuals. And when you go to school, because, you know, teachers never really understood certain areas, you were deemed as that individual that was acting out, or, you know, you're distracted. But when something goes down in your neighborhood, you know, whether it be a fight, whether it be you seeing drug deals go down, or whether it just be, you know, gunshots, people don't understand. You become traumatized to it. And when you get to school, it's not that you're trying to act out. It's just that you have no one to speak to help, you know, help you understand what you're going through. There wasn't any type of mental awareness or mental health. Or for me, I didn't quite understand what mental health was even then back in the day. So, and our culture, there seems to be a stigma in which that if you know, having trouble and you want to talk to somebody, you're crazy. So again, you know, we kept things bottled up inside, and, you know, we didn't talk to anybody. So when we go to school, we may act out, or we may have behavioral issues because we just didn't really know how to kind of speak about certain things. And from that standpoint, I finished high school, I went to Weston Collegiate, went to college, and at the age of 21, we moved to Malton. You know, it's my mom's first home. We moved out of the projects, and we started something there. However, I did get into some trouble, and my dad and I had a conversation, and my dad said, "Listen, you know what? You're gonna come live with me." And I was like, "You know what? Let's go for it." It's, I mean, all the time my mom has been there. She's grown me. Now my dad, took the initiative to say, "You know what? Come, let me teach you how to become a man." So between the ages of 21 to 28, I lived with my dad. We were roommates. I had my room. He had his room. And I also, was going to college, started my first job within a corporation, and things were good. My dad was, like, again, I wouldn't say a disciplinarian, but we were buddies, and our relationship was good. I could always talk to him about anything. And, he just basically set the rules and said, "You know what, this is the rules of the house. We're roommates. That's your quarters. That's my quarters. Let's live together." So that's kind of how that, manifested. And I was still working at the corporation that I was working for. I was green, but I was eager and willing to learn. And I did, various different jobs within, that organization. I was there for about 16 years. And, when I end up,
time.
yeah,
That's a lot of dedication,
I was there for about 16 years. And, I was just like, you know what, just to fast forward a little bit. I was saying to myself, I can no longer build someone else's dreams. And that's the reason and I resigned 2.5 years ago before starting this partnership with Dean.
Even before the pandemic.
Yeah, that's before the pandemic. And I couldn't build anyone's dream, and I didn't want to be trapped. So if I didn't take the leap of faith, I think I still would be there today. And then kind of hitting myself, wondering why I didn't, take a leap of faith and do something different and try to see. Because, my mentor always told me, like, listen, the company is not the same company that you worked for, 15 years ago. So if it's not working for you, quit. And if you go take a leap of faith and it doesn't work, you have these skills that can, help you get back into the organization if needed. So I left on good terms. People thought I was crazy when I resigned, and like, what are you doing? What are you going to do? But, I had some investments put aside. So, it kind of helped me make or take that leap of faith, make it easier. And I just said, when I did it, I even spoke to Dean. I was like, listen, this is what I'm doing, because I feel that I'm here. I'm not fulfilling what I need to fulfill. And, when you're building someone else's dream, it doesn't come natural. It's like, yeah, you're doing all this work, but at the end, you're a soldier, working for, the CEO, and, the kind of connection that you would have to that CEO. What are the chances of you even having that discussion, not even talking to him? Pretty much nil, right? So I just decided to take that leap of faith, and fast forward to 2021, Checks Over Strikes is here.
Wow. That's a very powerful story. And I just want to take it back a little bit. Ask you the question: how important was it for those early days and all the rough areas, just to sharpen you a little bit, just to get you ready for where you're at right now? How important was that?
It was important. I think to really be blunt, if I didn't go through a series of situations or scenarios, I don't think I would be the man today because again, when growing up, I wasn't really a leader, I was a follower. Um, and I always tried to fit in. And because of that, certain things I could have got into, a lot of trouble. But again, the old G's or the people that, were older and, saw my character inside said, you know what? Nah, we're not gonna let you do that because we feel that you can become something and we don't want you to get yourself in trouble. So those dreams could be deterred, right? So, I feel that if I didn't go through what I went through, I wouldn't be here today. On
Awesome.
honest God truth.
Those are very important moments in every young man's life because, I mean, just similar to you, I came up in back then it was called Metro House, and I came up in Pelham Park, and um, there's always people outside. There's always things going on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's always important that one of those same people on the other side of the law would say, "Hey, my youth,
Mm.
that no for you." Like they always tell you, certain things, right? And
Yeah.
and it's always good and it's always important because again, bring back to what you said earlier. There are a lot of people who don't understand that life. They don't because they've never been in it, right? So
Mhm.
they don't know what it is to be surrounded by certain influences, right?
Yeah,
So
that's correct.
you, as a youngster, you have to actually pull yourself through that just to get through, tough it out in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Now, Dean, what
Yeah.
about you? You want to share a little bit about your background?
For me, so similar to Craig, grew up in rough neighborhoods. I grew up in Rexdale. I grew up in Jane and Finch, even Falstaff, and I could say the early days up to about grade 5, I just enjoyed life. Like I enjoyed life, but I also seen things that I shouldn't have seen as a young kid growing up. So those
Yep.
things kind of traumatized. Well, I wouldn't say traumatized me, but it just left that image in my head, and I was like, "Yo, I don't ever want this to ever happen to me." Right?
Let's call it traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, it was just like, it's like, okay, I just knew, just don't go. If it was like like there was a big X on the door, it's like, don't go into X, go to the check, right? So for me, I think when I started, a lot of things started to come into play for me was when we moved out. So my mom and my stepdad, they separated, and then we moved out, and it was only my mom. So I was like, okay, and I'm the oldest of 3, right? And my sister was just born, so it's like I kind of took on that role, like, okay, I gotta be the man in the house now, type of thing, right? And that's when I seen other people have a lot of things, but it wasn't I didn't really envy when other people had other things. I just always asked myself, how can I get that, right? Or what can I do to be able to attain those things, right? So at a young age, I started trying to find creative ways to make money. So it was about grade 5. I started making my own little money here and there, selling whatever I could. If I had toys, um, comic book cards,
Sell your
everything.
toys?
Yeah, I used to sell my toys. So
Wow.
anything I had, like I would have video games. I got bored of it, and then I would sell it. So I figured out where I could sell these things. Like I used to travel down to where was it? Sheridan Mall. I used to sell my video games there, or my cards. I had like comic books and the trading cards. So I'd go down there, sell it, make some money, and then buy whatever it was that I wanted to buy, right? And just growing up, my mom just always used to tell me, yo, because she worked in the bank, so she just said, make sure you save your money. Always save your money. So that just kind of became. I never understood why, but I was just like, okay, fine, whatever, because it's my mom telling me this, right? So I was like, okay, I'll continue saving my money. So as I got older, um, I just I was always looked upon as like the smart one, but to me, I just felt like, no, I'm not smarter than anybody else. I'm just
You look
listening
like a
to
pretty
it.
smart fella. You look pretty smart.
Well, I,
Don't discredit
one school,
yourself, man.
one school is just I just listened. So I just everything just seemed so common sense to me. So I was like, okay, whatever. So teacher told me to do something. I was like, okay, fine, I did it, right? And then as I got older, I wouldn't say I caught up in the wrong crowd, but I was heading towards that path where it's like, you know what? I'm starting to see things where I don't like it. And because I'm young, I have a chance to change it, because the moment you hit 18 and they treat you as an adult, you're screwed. So I said to myself, you know what? I can't go down that path. I need to go a different direction for my friends. So I kind of almost kept to myself a lot of times, or as Craig was saying, walk to school. A lot of kids don't walk to school, right? I used to walk like about half an hour to school, half an hour to school, and then half an hour back. I didn't like taking the bus, so I just literally just walked to school. So for me, as I got older, I hit high school, and I was working. I was working a job. I was making my own money, so everything was just good for me, right? And the moment I hit college, that's when I just turned 18, and then my mom was just telling me about credit. She didn't really get deep into it, but she's like, don't let anybody use your credit. She got me a credit card. I had that first credit card. I barely used that credit card, and I didn't really understand credit at the time. So I just had the credit card for the sake of having it, but I had a job. So I was like, what do I need a credit card for, right? And just growing up, um, I just started to learn things where how important it was to have credit, because the moment I wanted to purchase a car, they asked, okay, how's your credit? At that time, I didn't know what my credit score was, right? Or even what a credit score was. And then when they asked me those questions, it's like when you ask me a question, I don't know the answer, I got to go find out what it is. So I was very
Sure.
inquisitive. So I would always try to figure out what the answer is, because I want to know for myself. And then if somebody asked me, I would have the answer, or I would like to share that information. And for me, just growing up with my brother and my sister, I just wanted to make sure that whatever mistakes I made, that they didn't make those mistakes. So everything that I learned, I made sure that I was teaching them as well. And as I got into, I finished school, so I finished accounting and finance, and then I got my first job. So I got my first job. It was a temp job, and then the temp job became my full time job. So I was there for about 8 years. I was a internal auditor, and then one day the company just said, we're canning the department. So I was like, oh, okay. And the year that they got rid of my department was the same year that I was getting married. So I was like, whoa, okay. So now I got to figure things out. It's like, how am I going to pay for this wedding? How am I going to take care of my family? And it was a lot for me at that time. At that time too, we just purchased a house. So now I have no job. My wife's still in school. We're getting married. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So it kind of left me to try to figure out things. So um, at that time, I used to have a side hustle where I was DJing. So I used my DJ money to help produce whatever income or pay for whatever bills that I could at the time. And then I was doing little jobs here and there. And I said, you know what? I had that vision where I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't be working for people. Like I literally was working at a call center one day, and I just got up and I said, I can't do it anymore, and just left. And I just started working for myself ever since. And come what was it, 2019, when me and Craig decided to work together about financial literacy, just to give people the opportunity that we didn't have. That's when we went full fledged with this company, and just said we're taking a stance for our communities that we grew up, and we want to make sure that they know this information that we didn't have, so that they could have a better journey as they grow up, or whatever it is that they're trying to attain.
Yeah, this is awesome stuff. And for those of you who don't know, we're talking with Dean and Craig, the authors of "Don't Be a Waste You," Guide to Financial Literacy, and they have an awesome story. There it is. There's the book. "Don't Be a Waste You," um, and also checks over strikes. Um, something that resonated with me is that there was an interview on one of the podcast radio shows in New York City
Mhm.
a few years back, and Damon Dash, he was encouraging people to do the same thing you guys are doing, which is take complete control over your destiny in a sense. And he got a lot of heat for it, but lo and behold, a few years later, we are seeing a lot of people popping up doing the same things, and it's really exciting to see this because like you guys are very talented, and there's a lot more people out there who are really talented. But you see, what happens is that what we do is we substitute, we lend our talent uh, for money, and we also enrich the person's taking our talent, right, and using it to their advantage. I'm not knocking it because it all goes hand in hand, right? Because you give us something and you get something,
Yep.
right? Um, so it works. I mean, but if you guys can find the strength and also the courage, most importantly, to just do it for yourselves and build from there while you're still relatively young. I know you guys feel old with a wife and kids, but you're not old yet. Trust me.
Yeah.
Old is when you wake up and things are hurting for no reason. That's old, man. But I want to get back to your mentors. Who were some of your mentors that got you to this point? Craig.
I had a mentor by the name of Andre Williams. He was my mentor when I was working for Bell Canada, and he was an individual that basically always just told me black and white. Like he gave it to me straight. Like, if he saw that I was messing up, or if he saw that I wasn't working to 100% to my capabilities, he would pull me in the corner and say, "Listen, you know what I mean? There's no time for dilly dallying here. Like, you need to step up. And you need to step up now, or things are going to go past you. And if things get past you, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And when you're behind the 8 ball, it's tough. Like corporations and how they work, I usually always used to kind of look at it as a game. And if you're not playing the game and you're on the bench, that means you're letting other people dictate where you go within the company, right? So you always got to play that game, and you got to be wise in certain situations, because a lot of people are like, oh, that's corporate jargon. And so I'm like, no, I'm being straight, because if you're sitting on the bench, not putting your hand up to get in the game, that person is going to dictate where you go, and where you may go may not be where you want to be. So therefore, you got to step up and you got to play that game and make sure that people recognize and know who you are. So when positions do come up, they're going to say, oh, that individual Craig, man, I remember him stepping up to the plate. So those are one of the things that, my mentor taught me. And like I said, the most important thing that he instilled in me was that, you always got to be better than the next person. And that means if you don't have the talent, you got to work extra harder. And when I didn't understand something in a meeting, or if I didn't understand how to pull a report, I was always that individual to learn. And then once I learned it, I would hit them with the factual data. And people used to say, man, well, how did Craig know that? It's just that because, I was green. I didn't really know a lot, but I could tell you this, I would outwork you if I had to.
Now, before we get into Dean's side of the mentorship, and so your mentor, he was at your job while you were working.
Yeah.
Was he a person of color like yourself?
Yes, a person of color. Yes, he was.
Okay, I'm just saying it for just statistics.
Yes.
There's no racial bias or whatever. I'm just saying it because sometimes I feel like I wouldn't say I was in the same situation, but being in that kind of corporate environment, sometimes you just need somebody just to like a godfather, just to kind of like guide you through. Because as a young man going into corporate situations, going into agencies or whatever, there's a lot of things you don't really know. Because if you're growing up in jungle or Chichewy, and I'm coming from Pelham, uh, you don't really see those types of people in those office settings, right? Like for me, especially that kind of setting was brand new. So you needed someone to really instill those things in you to get you prepared. And that's very important. And I think that's a very good story that you guys can also be able to share with the people who interact with you later on. Dean, what about your mentorship?
To be honest, I didn't really have any mentors. Maybe like I'd say in the later on in my life, I probably like now I have a few mentors, but growing up and when I started to really learn about financial literacy, it was I would say my mentors were remote, and when I say remote, I found them in books. So I didn't really have anybody that I could talk to or somebody that was really guiding me. Like people would give me
Why
advice
was
here
that?
or
I don't mean to cut you off,
there.
Dean, but why was that? Why weren't there someone that you can talk to?
Just looking back on the early childhood of my life, like there wasn't many people that I could talk to. There was nobody that I really looked up to. Like the people that were in my life, they were going down the wrong path. And I
Mm.
couldn't really trust the information that they were providing to me. Like they would tell me, you don't do that stuff. But at the same time, it was like I could only take what they were telling me with a grain of salt, right? And so it wasn't until like later on, like, you know what? Probably I would say my cousin. Because when he got in trouble for some stuff. He got locked up, and he called me one day and he told me, he's like, "Yo, I want you to read this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad." And the moment he told me to read that book, it kind of opened up my eyes to a different world. It's like, whoa, like this book is very powerful, and it kind of just led me on that path to read more books and learn new information and more information. So I started off with Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then from there I just continuously just would go to the bookstore and just pick up books and start learning new things. And then YouTube kind of came about, and then I started watching people on TV. So like Kevin O'Leary, who else did I think? And then later on, further down the line, I started reading a book called 10X by Grant Cardone, and there was another book that I read. I can't remember the title, and it's kind of the what's the title called? The four. There was a 4 hour work week by I think his name's Tim Ferriss as well. So a lot of these guys, I was reading their backstories and was learning a lot from them. So when I was reading their stories, it kind of just it hit me. It was like, you know what? If these guys are starting from nothing, imagine what I could do or where I'm going to be able to go if I continue on this path of the vision that I have for myself.
You know what? This is really awesome because, you know, I I want to say this. I want to like just stress on this a little bit because, you know, like guys that look very similar to you and to me,
Mhm.
you know, I really believe that we are kind of misunderstood at
Mhm.
first glance.
Yeah.
Like, and it takes a while before others really get to know us. Because I'll tell you why I'm saying this is because like I've come across many people in different scenarios, rich, poor, good, bad. Uh, but the thing that strikes me the most is that sometimes I'll be saying stuff, people say yeah 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 yeah, but they don't really listen,
Yeah.
and I find like listening to you guys. I find that you guys like are really an asset because the way how you guys are shaped
Mhm.
um, is really important. That you guys can kind of like what do you call it? A culture, a group of people in the same dynamics. You know what I mean? So before we go any further from here, I know you guys got into podcasting also,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
mm.
And how is that going?
So right now it's we just put it it's in the works. Our one of the co-creators just had a baby, so we just kind of put that on pause for now, just so that he can have time with his family. But it's something that we do have in the works. We have a few episodes that we will be launching soon, and the podcast is just to same thing that you're doing, just share people's stories and inspire people, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole purpose of Checks Over Strikes is to help build up our community so that we can build our community together.
Have you guys started other businesses as well?
Right. Well, aside from the books, we're doing an online course and just doing coaching and mentoring.
Now, I heard you guys mention something. No, Craig, if you want to talk about this, or I'm not sure which one of you guys were saying this, but I saw you guys on an interview, and you guys are saying that you take, for example, like in the city of Brampton, you guys are seeing a lot of things going, a lot of things happening
Hmm.
You just kind of like we all can learn from some of these things that we see,
Yeah.
which is shaping your community as well, because you kind of know how Brampton is kind of made up now,
Yeah.
and community shaping. Same thing like Markham, those places. Uh,
Yeah.
they all shaped in a certain way, and I think you guys want to maybe chat a little bit about the community and the support that community should put behind guys like yourself.
Hmm. Well, oh, sorry, Craig, you
No,
gonna
no,
say?
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, for us, just to just be blunt about it, just the black community, we don't have a community. Like you can pinpoint us being in marginalized areas, but we don't own these things, right? So for me and Craig, we said, you know what, it's time for us to put our foot forward and take a stance for our communities, and let's start to build up our community. But in order to build your community, you need to educate your community first, right? So that's why we started with the education first. So once everybody's educated, then we're all on the same page. Then when we're on the same page, then we can all work together and build our community. Because it takes four things to build a community: a hospital, a grocery store, a bank, and a school. If you have all those four things, you can build a community. And that's the path that we're trying to strive for. If it's going to take us 10, 20 years, or whatever it takes, that's what we're here for, to build our
Right.
community.
Yeah, and Dean, I couldn't say it any better than that. We're trying to build economic power because, as you mentioned, Brampton is shaped in a certain way. And to tell you the truth, when certain developments happening in Brampton, you know, there is a culture that buys the whole block, and once they buy that block, it's their block. They community the block the way they should, or they shape it the way they want to shape it, right? For the black community, we're not quite there yet, because I just think that we've been instilled, or we are trying to unlearn certain behaviors in order
Yes.
to get that way. Because and I'll be quite blunt about it. I have Indian friends that tell me straight, you know what? Yeah, we bought a house. Yes, there's 5 families living in the house, but guess what? Those 5 families are working towards a goal. So when they go to the bank and they ask for a loan, all of them are working together, and they say, you know what, you're going to move, you're ready to get that loan to get your own house. Let's the next family come in. And I just think that as a community, for black people, we're not wired that way. We're always taught to be independent, leave your house by this age, because if you're living at home, you're looked upon as not successful. And really and truly, like, if we were to do some of the things that these other cultures are doing, we'll be so far ahead, as opposed to getting caught up because we're so far behind the 8 ball. Like, for instance, Eglinton, Little Jamaica. um I'm not quite sure if we own that block. uh, we probably
Yeah.
don't, right? So when you don't own something, you don't have no say in it, really, right? But if we come together as a community and say that we're going to take a stance for what you're doing here, because we purchased this, so you're going to have to come through us and ensure that if you're going to build something that's going to, I guess, appreciate the value of that area, we need to have a say, because we want to make sure that, as Dean says, there's schools, there's hospitals, there's banks, and there is a BIPOC environment, that when the younger generation sees that, they can see, what, I can live to be this way because I see that individual that looks just like me doing it.
So we're lacking structure. Um, and why is it important that we do things in that nature? And why is it that important that we build our community? Because we've been around for quite a while, and there's lots of newcomers, new immigrants to
Yep.
Canada, and we tend to see them move ahead, and we tend to find ourselves at the bottom most of the times, even though on sports teams, when you look at on TV, we're usually the bunch of people in the minority bracket that are usually up front. But in terms of structure, we're still a little bit behind. And I'm just wondering to you two brothers, Why is that?
For me, I would say it's the mindset, and it's literally, as Craig mentioned earlier in the conversation, it's what you don't know, you don't know, right? So if you have that mindset, like for me, it's like my mom said, just go to school, get a job, and just work, right? And save your money. But if we only tell people that and we don't tell them to, okay, go to school, get a job, and try to make a difference in your community, then you're just gonna do what they tell you, right? And or if it's something like, okay, don't go to school, stay home, do whatever, then that's what you're gonna do, right? And then it's gonna go from one generation to the next generation. Like even yesterday when we were speaking to one of our clients, like I was explaining to her with like a little short scenario, like an example of her being her kids' biggest role models. And parents know that they're their role models for their kids, but it's the things that they do indirectly that they're picking up on. So the example I gave to her is going to the grocery store without a shopping list. So if you don't go to the grocery store with a shopping list, you're just telling your children, whatever you find in the store, we have no food at home. So whatever you find in the store, just pick it up and put in the cart, and then we're good, right? But if you really think about it, you're picking up stuff. So let's say you're picking up a bunch of fruits and vegetables. I can guarantee you probably 25% of that's going to be thrown in the garbage because they're not going to eat it, or it's spoiled and they didn't have enough time to make it, right? Also, they're going to probably overspend because they're buying with their eyes instead of knowing what they actually need, right? And then because the mom is teaching her children that, so now when it's time for children to go to the grocery store as adults, what are they going to do? They're just going to put stuff into the shopping cart and then go about their business and then do the same thing over and over again. So if you teach bad habits are just going to continuously follow. So it's a cycle that needs to be broken.
I absolutely agree with you. You know, and I have a tendency to do the same thing, which is go to the grocery store without a list. I recently started doing that, and it's working out. I recently started doing that. Uh, how old are you guys again? You don't have to answer. I'm just saying.
I'm 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. I know I don't look my age, but
No.
nonetheless.
I'll let you guess.
Well, I mean, if he, I don't want to guess because you know, I'm 35. I'm just kidding.
You're
No,
only
man, look.
as old as you feel, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 37.
Wow, wow. Look, these are really good practices, and
Mm.
I'm I'm very encouraged that you guys can take those habits because I'll tell you what, from because I wasn't born here, but I mean like growing up here and coming through all the different systems and everything, and we get to a point where I'm interacting with other Canadians, other Black Canadians, and
Mm.
we tend to do things in a very different way sometimes. And just to hear this stuff from you guys is very encouraging because these are the things that my grandmother, rest in peace, would always say to me. And
Mm.
just all these good habits. And
Yeah.
sometimes we tend to forget about them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So this is really encouraging. You know what I mean? But I want to ask you guys this, man. Are Canadians really hard to figure out?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hey.
yes, and I think we're very conservative. Another
Yes.
thing, like we're very conservative, and it's I don't know. I think we're just different from, I guess, Americans, in a sense in which that there are a lot of millionaires in the United States, you know, and it's funny because they say there are 1,700 billionaires in the United States, and only 13 of them are black, which is a huge gap, a
Right.
staggering gap, right? But I think that Americans, when they're set out to do something, they go get it. And just in Atlanta alone, there's many. I have a family members that live there. There are many millionaires in Atlanta, and as a black community, they stick together. They stick together, and that's what makes them powerful because they know at the end of the day, you know what, it's Dean's turn, but I know I'm next. So I'm going to try my hardest to get Dean to where he needs to be, because I know Dean's going to pull me up. And that's one of the things that, I talk about, with Dean, is accountability. I hold him accountable because I'm responsible for his family and he's responsible for my family. We're a business unit, right? So where I'm down, I'm hoping Dean picks me up as a brother, because we need each other to get to where we need to get to.
Those are very important words, man. Helping each other and realizing it's not your turn yet, but your turn will be tomorrow. You know what I mean? And, there's a lot of mistrust within the community. I think that I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. I think that's changing. I think, we're turning that table. I don't want to say negative vibes out there. I really believe through last year, even leading up to last year, that we were starting to see things differently. There's a lot of kids who are also are happy just to be entrepreneurs. A lot of kids who really want to do this thing. They're not so much. They're not boosted by the 90s drug dealers and stuff like that anymore. They're more turned on by the guys who are successful, the guys who are doing their things. You know what I mean? So I'm encouraged by you guys and seeing you guys do this. I was really excited when one of my connectors introduced me. Actually put me on to you guys, and I was very happy about that. Yes. So this question: were you surprised at anything that you found as you took this journey of empowerment? Was there anything that stood out to you guys the most?
For me, a lot of people, I would be guilty of this as well. We're very closed off. Like we like to keep things to ourselves, and it's not a bad thing, but it's a good and bad thing at the same time, because what we notice in people, they have a lot of pain points when it comes to money. But also, we don't have an outlet where we can talk to people about these things, right? And if you don't have someone to talk about, you're just going to continue on the vicious cycle that you're on, right? And Craig always says this, and it kind of sticks into my head, because now if I catch myself doing something, I check myself. So definition of insanity is to continuously do something over and over again. If you want different results, you're not going to get the same results by doing the same thing over and over again. You have to change, right? You have to change what you're doing. And that's something that kind of stuck with me. Every time Craig says that, or every time I find myself doing that, I hear Craig in the back of my head saying, that's the definition of insanity. You need to stop doing that. You need to change what you're doing. So that's what I would say for that I've noticed with people.
What about you, Craig?
I think I'll point to my self-worth. And Dean could probably attest to this as well. When we, started this journey with writing the book and even developing our online course, I was somewhat doubtful. And it wasn't doubtful in a sense that I didn't think we could do it. It was more doubtful in somewhat of a self-sabotage, because I was almost afraid to be successful, which there's a difference. And when we were able to understand our self-worth and understand that if you put impact before income, everything will fall into place. And, that goes a long way, because, we've partnered with different people and, people that are like-minded and have aligned visions that we have. We noticed that when you kind of could understand where someone's coming from and understand that, they're rooting for you because they feel that you are doing something that is going to uplift the community, it just began, things start to shift. And what I used to think, I was like, nah, I'm not thinking that way anymore, because I don't want to manifest these negative thoughts into the universe, because, I'm a person that believes that, we're on different frequencies and wavelengths, right? So the more negativity that you put out into the universe is more or less it's gonna come back, right? And I just said to myself, no, you know what? If someone believes in me this much, we got to be doing something right. So changing my mindset and, being responsible for my self-worth and where I can, take this company, Dean and I, to newer heights was something that stuck at the back of my mind and say, you know what, we can do it. Why not us?
That's right. That's right. And also putting that positive energy out there as well. If you put the negative energy out there, you're gonna get that in return. So I'm always encouraged also by my lovely wife about the same thing. So over the last 7 years, I've had to really change my attitude towards a lot of different things. I mean, I find myself you guys check each other. I check myself
Mm.
because again, there's not too many people that that I can relate to when it comes to certain things. I know one of you guys mentioned earlier. I think it was Dean that growing up, like you didn't find that there was anyone close enough to you that you can relate to in terms of having that mentorship. So you couldn't trust what they were saying,
Mm.
and I sometimes do that because I mean, even though I tell my wife sometimes, I tell her the stories that I from when I was a kid, and I would tell her, there's some things that people would say, and then I would just kind of look around at what they're doing and how they're doing things, and I'm like, I can't trust, I can't trust what they're saying
Mm.
because, you know, the actions are telling me something completely different, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I completely understand what you're saying, my brother.
yeah.
Um, as a Canadian, do you feel like there's so much more to tap into right here in Canada, in Ontario, as an entrepreneur? Or do you feel like you are up against a huge barrier?
I would say there's more because in more in general because as you were saying and Craig, I try to be optimistic in everything that I do. Like with Craig, like I told Craig when we started this company, I was like, yo, we're gonna become a bestseller. If it's not this year, it's gonna be next year. If it's not next year, it's the year after. Whenever it is, our time will come, right? So I always have that optimistic hat on about anything. So I don't let anything stop me from getting to where it is that I want to get to.
Can you put your book up again so people can see it and don't forget it? I want you guys to go out there and get this book. It's not a big book, so don't worry your head. You're not going to be spending
I
like
was,
years reading this book. I know you guys are busy. Everyone is so busy, even though there's a pandemic.
yeah.
Everyone's just busy. So
Mm.
it's big enough to capture your attention, and it is big enough to give you all the financial help that you need. So guys, it's yellow. I mean, you can't miss it. Just go out there, and I'm colorblind. I can tell you it's yellow. So go out there and get this book. Don't be a waste youth. I really hope the sales keep going because I popped on the website today, and as I popped on, I saw that someone had just purchased a book, I believe, and I
Mhm.
just I just say this is awesome, awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, there's much more we want to get into, and once again, guys, we're talking to Craig and Dean from uh, Check Over Strikes. Um, the book is called "Don't Be a Waste Youth: The Financial Literacy Guide."
Mhm.
Um, I was going to say, is there anything that stands out more to you during this pandemic? Because it's been rough last year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of stuff that was right in your face.
Mhm.
Is there anything that made you say, I think we're heading in the right direction with what we're doing? Is there anything you guys saw that made you more aware?
Um,
Uh, Go, Craig.
well, I think I kind of view that question a little bit differently. I tell people that, this pandemic has been a gift and a curse at the same time, and
Yes.
a curse in a sense that, and God bless those souls. Many people have died because of this, this COVID-19, and a lot of people's situations and families have changed because of it. However, I tell Dean all this time. I tell Dean this all the time. If this didn't happen, it was a blessing in disguise because it helped us slow down. I think we were all at one moment in time, we were always on the go, 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 go. We got to get this done. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to, and I just almost think that we were pushing ourselves so much to the limit that, you know, maybe we'll be burned out by now. And when the pandemic happened, it just took time for myself to reevaluate, you know, myself, and basically say to myself, okay, Craig, what is it that you want to do at this point? You know what I mean? The COVID-19 has put the place to a halt. There's nothing much you can do. So what are you going to do with this time? And that's when, you know, Dean and I said, you know what, we're going to write the book, because we didn't have anything else to do. Right. So I just think it was a gift and a curse. And at the end of the day, a lot of things were happening in the world, obviously, with, you know, the murder of George Floyd. A lot of things were happening, and it was just in a sense in that Dean and I saying that, you know what, this is why we're doing what we need to do, because if we're in a predicament in which that we can build a community, and we're building a community with, you know, hospitals, schools, grocery stores, and banks, and even law enforcement. When you have law enforcement that look like us, you know what I mean, and you're building a community, maybe it's easier to have those conversations with law enforcement as opposed to, you know, us defunding the police and, you know, taking away all these things because of what's happening, right? We all know, you know, there's bad people, there's good people, right? We don't want to necessarily, you know, paint somebody with the same brush. However, there are systemic issues that you know, not that are not only in the States, they're here as well, right? It's just some here, it's just well disguised, and it's not so overt. Like, people are not like out there doing it, but again, there's some people that have that same systemic mind, and how they think, where they should be because of the color of their skin. So like I said, I just think that it was a gift and a curse, and, you know, there's a lot of things that we learn, and, you know, by this happening, I think it changed a lot of people's lives, and for the better.
I agree with you. And you know, and there's a lot of unconscious bias. So there's people who don't even know what they're doing when they say certain things or when they do certain things, because they're so used to doing it that way, and nothing happens. That it kind of just goes, and it's really unfortunate. But I think under different circumstances, if the tables were to turn and people were to find themselves in the kind of minority bracket, uh, and maybe they can get a feeling of what that feels like. I guess living in North America.
Mhm.
I don't know if Dean, you want to add to what Craig was saying?
For me, with the pandemic, for us, well, I know for me, for one, I'm not the smartest guy, but I kind of notice when things are happening, and I learned this with when I was learning about forex trading. It's called "The trend is your friend until it bends," and I just kind of notice people are getting more into financial literacy or even starting their own business. So I felt like it kind of opened people's eyes, like, hey, like the having a job is not the only way to make an income, right? You can do other things as well. So that's what I kind of seen with the pandemic. As Craig was saying, it's been the gift and the curse, because you're only limited to so much, but at the same time, it makes you think, like, you ask that question to yourself, like, how can I, or what can I do, right? So that's what kind of, for me, what the pandemic has done, where it's an eye opener. It's like, what else can I do with my time on my hands?
I think it's been a beautiful time too. It's not a beautiful time in terms of people dying or people getting sick, but
Mhm.
I think it's a time for people to really get to know themselves, and to understand what is happening.
Mhm.
Either kind of wake up, you know, drink some coffee and get woke, as they
Yeah.
say. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things you like. How much more longer can you go on doing the same things that you're doing, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we'll run and run and run and run until morning catches you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it's been a time where I really believe that people can really format their thinking, or reformat what they're thinking. and try to pursue some other things. I mean, even for me, I mean, there are people right now looking at me and saying, Dima and Derek, I didn't know that you can talk. And the thing is, right? The thing is this: I could always talk. I mean, I coach soccer from the time I was 17 years old, man.
Mhm.
But you see, what happens is when you're around loud voices, the loud voices must be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just gotta kind of step backwards and just go. I can fight you trying to be louder than you, or I can just let you talk, right? So I mean, that's what it is, and I know Craig don't have a lot more time here because he's going to bounce off pretty soon in probably like 9 minutes or so. We'll continue if we have to, but I'm just going to try to shove a few more questions in.
Mhm.
And don't forget, Dean, you want to push that book up again so people can see the book, guys. The book is is going to be a bestseller. They already sold over 1,000 copies. I believe is very helpful. By the way, big up Jamal for shouting us out earlier. I forgot to mention that. Big up Hawk as usual. Paul player. Um, um, oh yeah, this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys. So, do you think within the Ontario Black community that we need an honest and open discussion about ourselves and how we can move into the next 30 years without so much lingering over our shoulders that keeps us from progressing? Is that something you guys see as necessary? Uh, what do you guys think?
Uh, in general, we need an outlet where we can speak to people. Just for me growing up, as I was saying, I didn't have the mentors or people I could talk to. I never had an outlet as to where I can talk to somebody, and not just as just Black people, but as just being a man. It's like what's that saying, like or men don't cry, or you can't show emotion, like all those things. It's like we're not allowed to be vulnerable. So I think
No.
as a Black community, we need to be vulnerable. The moment you can be vulnerable, that's when you can be able to make change. But we always just have that brick wall up. It's like, nope, I'm not letting you in. And that's what kind of holds us back from a lot of things. So I think just having a space where we can be vulnerable and just talk to one another, then things will be able to change for us.
Yeah, I think we are supposed to just tough it out,
Yeah.
and move on, just like our grandparents did, and the guys before
Oh, yeah.
them did, right? But we all know that we do cry for
Yeah,
different reasons.
we're all
Um,
human.
so that's why I'm proposing a night of crying. One night we should just get alive and everybody just crying. Just letting your tears out, saying all your sorrows and all the things that hurt you along the way, and
Mm,
all those hardships that we had to go through, and let's just let the world know some of the things that really affected us. But it's also very important that we showcase all of our accomplishments and all the things that we're aiming for, or all of our ideas, because our ideas, if you don't let others know what our ideas are, they could kind of die with us. So
yeah.
I think it's important that, say, for instance, Dean spoke with Craig about building this, and Craig, you got together with Dean and you guys started this company, is well on his way to success. I know you guys are going to get the support. I know that there's people out there who are going to jump on the bandwagon and jump on your shoulders and say, "Look, let's just build this up. Let's just get Dean out there first, or Craig out there first, and we'll bring something else too." And it builds that network. It's
Yeah.
very important that we do that, because sometimes we tend to forget, right? I mean, like for instance, like any one of us could be in college, or out of high school or whatever, and and you're labeled as smart, and then you
Mhm.
move on and you jump into a really good company or something, then you get lost,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Just get lost within that system. So Craig, you got 5 more minutes with us.
Yeah. I was kind of jump in when you asked that question to Dean. I think it's just, I think we need to have the less of the politics. Like, there's so much
Mm.
politics behind certain situations and how you have to navigate to get to where you need to get to. And some people are just, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of have to go
Yes,
through
yes.
a particular route to get where they need to be because it's the politics behind it, right? So I think as long as we continue to partner as, as a group or as a community, and the biggest thing, ask questions. You know what I mean? If you see somebody that you admire, or or you feel they're successful, ask questions, because the worst thing you're going to get is a no, or no, I don't want
Right.
to discuss it. But if you're polite about it and you approach a situation, you know, as a genuine human being, 9 times out of 10, a person's going to say, you know what, you have a minute, let's go for coffee, or let's do a Zoom, because that's the new normalcy right now. Um,
That's right.
and let's just talk about how you want to get from A to B. And I think if we have more conversations like that, we can build and generate a lot of power, right? Because I just think that, like you said, we're very influential as a people, because, as you
That's
said,
right. That's right.
when it comes to sports, you got LeBron James. He makes the most, and you have all these. You have Jay-Z. He's a billionaire. You have Dr. Dre. He's almost a billionaire. So there's no doubt about it. We're powerful as a people, and we're influential. But sometimes what happens is that that power only goes a certain level before people start changing. And they may say, well, why is it not my turn yet? I've been waiting for 5 years. This person is still there. And again, you just have to have that mindset to wait your turn. If you wait your turn and trust the process, something good will happen.
Most
You
definitely.
want to add anything to that, D?
Oh no, he hit it on the head, man.
Okay.
Just speaking about the just waiting your turn. Like everybody has the right to success. It's just a matter of when your calling's coming, right? Like it's not gonna happen overnight, and everything happens with time. But like Craig just hit on the head with everything that he said.
That's right. So even though both of you have come a long way in your eyes, what is success to you, and what do you see as progress?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I think success could be very objective, but it's so funny you asked that question, because I was talking to one of my friends, and he was asking about, he's in the music industry, and he was asking about what's your feedback, and what do you think. And I said to him, feedback could be a double edged sword, because if you don't get the right feedback at the right time, it could send you on a downward trajectory, right? As opposed to getting the right feedback. And I said to him, I said, listen, if you're doing something that makes you feel happy, and it's touching hearts, it's touching people through the connection you're making, keep doing what you're doing. Because if you're making other people happy and it's making you happy at the same time, I believe that is success. And for us, for Dean and I, we want to touch as many people as possible, because we know that change is near, and change is going to come. And we know that if we are able to touch X amount of individuals, we're going to build that community, that we're going to build that community that we set out to, and we're going to execute on the things that we need to execute on.
Yep.
Perfect, man. Perfect.
As Craig was saying about success, pretty much to add to that, for us, our motto is building our community one person at a time. So every time that we touch someone's life, that's what we see as success. And for progress, something that I keep on my phone that I read every day, is to become 1% better than yesterday. So if you're doing that little increments over time, it's going to become big progress, which will lead to this success.
I think
Yeah.
those are some very wise words. Um, I know Craig gonna bounce off pretty soon, and I want before you go, I just want to thank you for coming on the show. I know I'm really excited for you and for Dean. I really hope and wish you guys the best. I want you guys to always stay in contact. We'll build this network. We'll do
Sure,
things.
man.
We'll always be connected. If there's any way that any one of us can help you, if you guys want to pop back on at any time, just to promote anything new, or
Mhm.
even to promote what you're doing again, don't be shy. Let's use every angle that's out there.
Mhm.
This is free. This is an open book, pretty much. Use it. Reach out to me. I reach out to you guys to see how you guys are doing. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question before you go. This is a
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
important question. What prompted you guys to write a book like this? Like the title itself. I know Dean said you were going to get back to it
No,
earlier.
Dean's
I
gonna
wanted
talk
to
about
hear
the
from
title.
you.
Dean's gonna talk about the title.
So the title, how it came up, to be honest, it was something it's been stuck in my head for years. And I'm of Jamaican descent. So it was something that stuck with me and my brother growing up. So we would just always use that term, don't be a waste with anything that we did that was stupid, right? So if someone did something stupid between me and my brother, we are like, yo, why are you doing that? Like, don't be a waste, right? And immediately, it's like what you're doing, you're making a stupid move, right? Or whatever you did was stupid. Like, come on, you got to change what you're doing. So that's how we came up. Well, that's the title that I had in my head. And when I told Craig's like, yo, that's perfect. And what Craig says is that's the shock and awe. So it's like the moment you see, like, imagine going to like Chapter's bookstore and seeing us on the shelf. You'd be like, what? Don't be a waste you. Financial literacy. You're going to immediately pick that up, right? So it's
That's
that
right.
attention grabber to get your attention so that you can start reading that book and see what's inside. So that's how we came up
That's
with
right.
the title.
So once again, I want to thank Craig. I want to thank Dean. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Guys, go out there and get that book. It's on sale at Amazon. Where else can they find the book?
Checksoverstrikes.com. Hit the link that says shop and you can purchase your copy.
And
And there's also
we also have a online automated course. So
that's right.
that's something that we didn't get to plug, but it's something that we built. It's a automated course. It's narrated by yours truly and our partner. And it just takes it's an extension of the book, but it goes a little bit more in depth, and it's an engagement type of automated online course
Yeah.
because it comes with a workbook as well.
Yep. And
And it's very it is I imagine it's very easy to maneuver as well,
super
right?
easy. Super easy.
Crazy.
And we're launching our crash course May 31st, where we teach people how to better their relationship with money. That's May 31st. You can sign up on checksoverstrikes.com.
So, guys, this is very important. These guys are doing some wonderful work and some wonderful things within not only the community, but it's worldwide because it's on the web. So anyone out there, you can purchase it or even take the course. I mean, it will benefit you guys out there. So don't forget, check it out. Checks Over Strikes. Don't be a waste youth. Put that book up again so that they can see it. You know, let it stick in there. It's very small. You guys can get through it very easily. You can read it on the subway. You can read it before you go to bed, and you can also you can just read it in your spare time.
Yeah,
I
it's an
think Craig.
easy book. We kept it short and simple. It's almost like that Know Your Rights handbook. This is almost like the same similar format. Like you can literally put it in your back pocket and carry anywhere with you. It's only 53 pages, but it's jam packed with information. Like it teaches about credit, taxes, RRSP, RESPs, like everything. Like we literally touch everything that has to do with money is in that book.
And it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I think it'll resonate with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
I think a book like that is much needed, especially for youths,
Mhm.
youngsters out there. Because to be honest, Dean, there's not a lot of younger people who wants to actually read.
No.
So a book, not too big, not too challenging, is perfect,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
They can do it through their spare times. And I'm glad you guys are doing this because you know what, it's just good that you guys can just kind of like can reach people and just show them, look,
Mhm.
read the book. Maybe you can get something from it, and maybe you can go on and be successful.
Yeah.
If not, you see from the past what happens with a lot of different people, right? You lose a job and then you find yourself, kind of backpedaling in the mud. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, every one of us, or if you're old enough, you've been there. So
Yeah.
I mean, it reaches you. There's no doubt about that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. What
Is there anything
goes
else?
up must come down. So that's how I see life. Like it's a roller coaster. It can't continuously go up straight. Like nobody's life is like that. If your life was like that, then you'd be a robot. So
Yeah, sure.
life is just about ups and downs, and it's how you manage your downs in order to come back up, right?
That's right. That's right. Is there anything else you want to plug or anything else you want to put out there so the public can hear or know before we
Um,
jump off?
a lot of just follow us on Instagram. You'll see a lot of our updates. We also post how tos or did you know information, little tidbit stuff to help you along with your journey when it comes to money. And just the book. We got the book here. Don't be a waste. You the financial literacy guide. And we got our crash course coming May 31st, where we teach people how to better their relationship with money.
You know what? I'm looking forward to the. I can't write this book because I'll be having problems, but I'm looking forward to the one that you guys can talk about relationships. I know I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people out there lining up for that one.
Yeah, yeah,
Short and sweet, right?
yeah. Straight to the
Hey,
point,
look,
man.
man. I want to thank you, Dean, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure of mine. I was really excited when I heard about this. Um, so anytime you want to come back here again, just give me a shout, hit me up, and
Yeah.
and we can do this all over again.
Yeah, I
Right?
appreciate you, D man. I appreciate it. Like the more that we're out there speaking, the further we get. And for those people out there that are entrepreneurs, your store is only open if your mouth is open. So literally, if you're not talking or letting people know about your business, nobody will know about your business. You are your biggest advertisement. So you just got to go out there and just continuously deliver your message. And just through the journey of being an entrepreneur, you will have ups and downs, but you got to be able to just chuck through it and just keep going. Just keep pushing, keep pushing.
That's right. That's right. Uh, Wonderful, man. Those are so true words, and you just have to speak about what you do. Let people know it's you. This is what
Yeah.
you do. It'll come, man. It'll
Yeah.
come.
Closed mouths don't
You
get
guys.
fed, man.
I mean, and you guys are pretty young, so I like the direction. I mean, yeah, you've been through a few, ankle breakers or whatever once you pass 20s, but you guys are doing well. Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
So there you have it, guys. I can't even say enough. These guys are doing some wonderful work within the community. Not only community when I say that, but within the Ontario community. Born and bred here in Ontario, these two young gentlemen uh, have found a way to uplift themselves and also to also empower themselves and empower people around them. So guys, don't be scared. Just jump out there and hit Amazon and look for that book. Uh, Hit them up. I know a lot of you want to support, but not only support, but also encourage and also be there for the next book and be there for the next person's book. There's so much things happening out there. I know a lot of times the youth just need that support and they just want to be heard. They just want you guys to know that you have their back. And those are very important things for not only for a community but for a people. I mean, even in Ontario, things are pretty rough. There's a lot of people who are either passing away or before you know it, there may be some old person or even a young person that you miss them and they're gone. And guess what? There ain't no funerals. Nobody's going to the hospitals, and they're just gone. So you ask for that person that you used to see around the corner, and then you hear they're no longer with us. A couple of weeks back, I was really saddened to hear that one of my friends' family passed true to this virus. He was only 51 years old. May he rest in peace. But there's a lot more of us out there who are suffering and a lot more of us who are saddened by this pandemic and what it's doing to these communities. There's a lot of people out there who are not fortunate enough to work from home, and there's a lot more people out there who are not even fortunate to have the internet, believe it or not, in these modern times. So I want you guys to always encourage your neighbors, encourage the people around you, support them, support their ideas, support their dreams, and let them live just as big as their dreams are. And on that note, I want to thank you guys for viewing. And until next time, peace.